We're back here on the Business Forum Show. I'm Kevin Hunter, my guest in studio, Dr. Jeff Schneider from Hillside Chiropractic. Dr. Jeff, we were talking about some of your early experiences in your clinic, and you mentioned to me about this keeping your overhead low and really keeping the expenses of your marketing programs low. You mentioned about a first marketing program that you did there. Give us some details on that.
Well, the first thing I did when I came to town is I sent a flyer to all the hair salons in town and offered them a week's free chiropractic for all the people that work there. Figuring on those are the people that actually talk to the most people in town. So if I could put my foot in the door there and start getting them to say, oh, hey, you should go to this place, that would be a good thing. And actually that worked out pretty well. I just got this idea from somebody one time about that, and I just always kind of stuck that in the back of my head through chiropractic college that if I ever open on my own, that's what I'm going to do. And I did it, and it actually kind of kick-started the business. Obviously, that first week was pro bono, but it was nice, though, because I did get some referrals. And I, to this day, 14 years later, have some people that came off that first promotion.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So was that an idea you came up with on your own, or just a borrowed idea in college? Or
It was a borrowed idea, but I wish I'd have came up with it on my own. But
well, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. The interesting thing is that so many business people out there think that that's what they have to do. In fact, there can be we visit all the time with business people here in the show, and sometimes going through the process of getting somebody ready to bring on the program. You know, we have the pre-survey that we do. A lot of times we have a follow-up phone call and whatnot with clients before they actually come into the studio. And some of the ideas, you know, when I see some glaring issues in their business and some of the ideas we bounce off them, once in a while, these business people will come back, and I call it the I'm unique type problem, because a business person will look at something and go, well, you know, that's a really great idea, but, and then what you hear out of them is this I'm unique phrase. And they're explaining why the idea doesn't work in their organization. So it's always a good thing to, when somebody has an idea out there, it doesn't matter if it's not your idea or not, if you see an application for it in your business, and obviously this one worked for you.
yeah, there's no reason to recreate the wheel. If somebody else did it for me, I can take advantage of it.
That's exactly right. Let's get into a little bit of the some of the challenges that you had in getting your business started, because you said you didn't have that much in the way of education and whatnot, and really having somebody kind of look over your shoulder. So we're sitting here 14 years after you opened your clinic, and I guess it'd be just a little more than 14 years, because you mentioned January 99, correct?
Yep.
So we're sitting at 14 plus years. What do you think really helped you get through some of those early challenges, and what were some of those problems that you dealt with?
I think it was just getting it started, you know, getting learning the systems that needed to be done was a big one, because I'm more of want to be a chiropractor. I don't really like the paperwork side of it and the systems and the organization side of it. So it was finding a way to get that better at that, I think, was probably the main challenge for myself. And the marketing kind of developed over time, and where I learned out where my niche was, what I was good at. And with the ART that I use, I think was my unique selling point. So I really use that a lot. And I think the marketing has kind of worked out, but it was just the behind the scenes kind of stuff that I really needed the most help on.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're one of a handful of practitioners in the state of Minnesota that actually use ART. Is that correct? There's not a lot of ART chiropractors out there that I understand.
Yeah, there's not a lot in the state, but there's probably 20 to 30 now. When I started, there weren't very many at all. But it's getting more popular as time goes on, as people get more results and start asking their chiropractor, why aren't you doing this technique that I've heard about? More and more people are getting into it.
Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to ART, which is a technique that you yourself practice, correct?
Yeah.
You also have a massage therapist in your office.
Yes. Yep. So we also have the ability to do, you know, hour massages or longer, or even half hour if they need to, just to get some more time for people that like to relax after a stressful day or have some issues that just need a little bit more time to work on than a normal treatment.
Do you ever have a client that, you know, you think their treatment isn't, that they don't need more treatment than just what I would call the cookie cutter chiropractic treatment where you walk in, they go a crunch, and you leave, and you're in and out of the office in 5 minutes or 6 minutes. I've gone to chiropractors in the past that are like that, and I'm curious what your thought on that is.
Well, that was my first experience. That's what got me into chiropractic, actually, was that I hurt my back, and I went to a chiropractor, and that was the approach that they used. Even though they explained to me what chiropractic was, I was kind of intrigued, but when I just got the adjustment and left, in like about 2 minutes, I didn't really feel like I was getting the value I wanted, even though I believed what they were telling me about chiropractic. So I kind of looked into it more, studied up on it, and decided that this is the way I wanted to be. This is what I believed in, but I just was going to do it a different way.
Very nice. So you mentioned to me that at some point you brought a business coach into your organization. At what point along your, after you opened your clinic, did you decide to get a coach involved?
A couple years after I opened up my practice, my wife developed cancer, and a year later she passed away. And after that, I kind of lost some focus in getting some of my behind-the-scenes stuff done, like I talked about. I still put all my attention into my patients, but I didn't really put my attention into some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, the paperwork, the organization part of it, and that kind of lacked. And then I just needed some help, and I wasn't sure where to turn. And then I met somebody, a business coach, at one of my networking meetings, and decided that I really could use this person to help me out to get these systems underway. So I needed somebody to keep me accountable and to basically show me some things to do to use my time more wisely.
What do you think was really because you said you were engaged in this process for about 4 years. What do you think really was your benefit out of that?
I think it was just streamlining what I do and giving me more time to work on what I'm best at and to have other people do the stuff that I'm not that good at. And finding that really helped a lot. So it made it more focused on the marketing was more focused. So it was much better. So I got better results out of my marketing, but also it was just the treatment time and everything that went into the office was my time. And then I had to have somebody else do some of the other stuff for me, which really freed up me to do the other things, to market myself and to networking groups and things like that too. I was wasting too much time doing some other things instead of really trying to build my business.
Okay. What advice would you give to other practitioners? Because there's people graduating from college all the time and looking at opening up a new practice. What advice would you give for other practitioners like yourself that are really where you were at back in, 98, 99? What advice would you give them based on your 14 years in business?
I would go talk to people. If you know other chiropractors, you're familiar with them, go ask them for advice. I think that's one of the best things. I did a little bit of that right away, so I think that really helped a lot. And I wish I'd have done even more. But since then, I've had other people that I knew that were going through chiropractic school that I've sat down and talked to and said, here's the things you need to know. Don't get too caught up with getting everything right away. You can start small and work towards your dream. You don't have to have your dream right away, but work towards it and do the right things and do what you're good at, and then have other people do the other stuff. There's experts in other different fields, and you're not an expert at all of them, so make sure you do what you're an expert at and hire the other ones out. So
Sure. Give us some of the client success stories that you've dealt with, because as you've explained, ART and the muscle side of what you're doing with your chiropractic is significantly different than other just a straight chiropractic type practice. So share with us a couple of client success stories that you've dealt with.
I would say one of the best stories is I had my son went to a daycare, and we just started at this daycare, and it was like a month later where the daycare lady told me that she wasn't going to be able to be there next week because she was having a surgery on like 2 days from that day, and for carpal tunnel. And I said, well, let me check this out once. I said, I've worked here for how many years? I haven't seen anybody with true carpal tunnel. And so it's always involved with the elbow. So I checked her out and did some ART on her elbow. And the next morning she called me and said, I canceled the surgery because my pain is just about gone already. I've had this for, 2 years. It got so bad where I couldn't take it anymore. I was going to have the surgery. I've been checked out. I've had shots. And one treatment, she already was, symptoms were reduced enough that she knew that what we were doing was going to be right.
Now, how is the elbow involved in carpal tunnel?
Well, carpal tunnel is when the median nerve gets pinched, and the median nerve comes out down the arm and can be pinched in like 6 different spots before it gets to the median tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
So at the carpal bones there, so it's most likely to be in the muscle. Actually, it's like 6 times more likely to get pinched in the muscle than it is in the joints. So it's I don't really see very much carpal tunnel. I see mostly stuff in the elbow that's causing the problems.
Well, obviously a lot to be learned about the whole practice. And for those of you out in our listening audience, if you have or are seeing somebody in the chiropractic business and maybe want to try something different, obviously what Dr. Jeff does is you can reach him at hillsidechiro.net. That's the website for Dr. Jeff Schneider. You can also call the office at 763-241-5393. Again, 763-241-5393. Thanks for coming on the show with us here today, Dr. Jeff.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm Kevin Hunter on the Business Forum Show. Thanks for listening.